Welcome into Journey to the New Earth. I'm Kimberly, and I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much, everyone, for jumping on, for seeing the notification, and joining in. I know I have not been on for a while. There's lots to talk about, and I'm going to go over that tonight. And as you can see by the thumbnail, we have a topic that I want to discuss that I have been doing a deep dive into, and I have a lot to say about it tonight. Most of it is not going to be very popular. So brace yourselves, be patient with me. I do have a point and a purpose to everything that I'm going to talk about tonight. And so I hope that you'll stick with me. In addition, if you are a dude, a guy watching this, make sure you stay because I have some things to say to the men in the US right now that are very, very important. And I really do want you to hear it. So thank you again for joining me. Tell me over in the comments where you're tuning in from, and we'll get started. So to kind of preface where I'm going tonight, because it's going to be a bit of a journey in the conversation, the first thing I'm going to start with is an experience that I had. And then I'm going to move into an incident that happened in California. And then I'm going to talk about what I perceive to be a game plan for those of us that are watching and those of us who have a concern about what that thumbnail talked about. And, I'm not going to use a lot of words tonight because I don't know where YouTube is on the censorship on this particular topic. But I'm sure that you can see from the thumbnail that what I'm going to be discussing is what's happening in the air above us on this planet. So the first thing I want to talk about or start with is an experience that I had recently. About a little bit more than a month ago, about 5 weeks ago now, I took my dog out for a walk in the morning, which I used to do every single day. This particular day was really weird. I live in Florida, we're the Sunshine State, but it wasn't sunny that morning. It was weirdly foggy. And I didn't think anything of it at the time. And I took my dog out for a walk. We generally walk for almost an hour and got back to the house. And that's when everything kind of fell apart in my world. I ended up getting so incredibly sick after that walk. And it's been more than a month now. And I have not really been out of the house for over a month. I put myself together today for this conversation. But other than that, I have literally been in bed for more than a month. And what I had was, and still have, is a respiratory illness that was so bad that there were times that my lungs were hurting so hard that it was radiating down my arms. In addition, I had body aches. I mean, I was in really, really rough shape. And there were days that I didn't even want to keep living. I was in so much pain. So we're a little more than a month down the road now, and I'm starting to come out of it. Now, what I'm starting to connect is that fog that I ended up taking a walk in wasn't normal fog. It has been showing up around the US in different cities, and it has been connected with serious respiratory illness and sometimes gut issues. When I talked with my doctor, I had an online appointment with my doctor, and I shared with her my thoughts that I thought that maybe there was something in the air that day. She did not push back at all. And what she said to me was that there is an epidemic of respiratory issues in my area. And she thought that the timing was particularly interesting. What I have found out from my investigations on social media and looking around is that there was some testing done on that fog. One lab, I believe in the Fort Myers area, states that not only was there aluminum, barium, and strontium in that fog, but they also detected a very high level of a bacteria called Serratia marcescens. And I'm not pronouncing that correctly, and I apologize if you do know how to pronounce it. I don't know if that is true. I would want to see that information from a couple of other independent labs for me to say, yeah, that was the case. What was particularly interesting for me, and the reason that I have done such a deep dive into this topic, is that not only did I get sick, maybe I just picked up a bug. However, I take so many supplements and I am in such good health that for something to get me that hard really had to be quite potent. But what really caught my attention is my dog. And I took my dog with me on that walk. My dog did not eat for 2.5 days after that walk. And she just laid on the floor for that whole 2.5 days. So that leads me to believe that there was something out there that both my dog and I were exposed to, and it made both of us sick. So whether or not I caught something that was being sprayed from a plane, I don't know. I do know that there is an epidemic of respiratory illnesses around the country. I do know that this fog has showed up around the country. And I do know that we have seen an extraordinary amount of chemtrailing around the country and around the planet. So I'm not going to project or make claims or this and that. All I'm going to do is share my experience. I got very, very sick, and my dog got very, very sick after that walk. So that was my experience. What I want to talk about now is to move this topic forward and touch on an incident that happened in California. I actually linked the Instagram post in the comments below this video of the incident that I'm going to talk about. And feel free to pause the video right now and go listen to that Instagram post. It's a recording, voice recording, and come back because you're not going to miss anything. Or if you just want to watch it when I'm done, I will recap it here now. A woman in Central California walked into a pilot's office prior to him crawling in his chemtrail plane to spray that community with aluminum, barium, and strontium. And the recording was done without the pilot's knowledge, so he did not know he was being recorded. And this woman was a community resident who had been tracking his flights for a few years. They know who he is, they know his plane, they know the tracks that he takes. And she went there to that aviation office and confronted him. There are two things that came to mind for me in that recording. The first is that pilot felt absolutely no remorse, no sense of guilt, no discomfort, nothing. His whole attitude was, I'm not the person to talk to. I'm just doing my job. I'm just following orders. So he had absolutely no discomfort facing a member of that community whose house he had been spraying, whose family he had been spraying, whose property he had been spraying for a few years. Zero sense of discomfort. The second thing I noticed about that recording is one of the things that's a real problem for me on this whole issue. And that is, why was it that it was that mama that had to show up and confront that pilot? Where were the angry 10, 12 high testosterone dads in that community? Where were they? Why was it the mama that had to go in and confront that pilot? Why wasn't the community getting behind the fact that they no longer want to be sprayed with toxic chemicals by this pilot and his company? And that right there is leading me into the issue that I have with what's going on in the country right now. That pilot felt no remorse because we have not made him feel guilty, because we have done nothing about it. We have sat here and taken it year after year, month after month, watching them toxically drown us in poison, and we do nothing. We sit there and bitch about it. We post on X about it. Maybe we post on Instagram about it. But what do? Nothing. In my opinion, that pilot should have been confronted with 10 to 12 high testosterone real men from that community and told in a very, very convincing way that what he's doing is not okay and it's not going to continue, period. The problem is that we're allowing it. And instead of us taking charge and realizing that these are our communities, these are our towns, these are our families, these are our children, this is our soil, these are the birds that live in our neighborhood, these are the butterflies that are being killed, these are the caterpillars that will never go to fruition because they're spraying us every single day with poison. And instead of going on to X and whining about the fact that we are suffocating under the poisons that is being dumped on us, how about we start taking charge of what's happening in our communities? Now, my concern is why is not every single man, father, husband, grandfather, parent in the community in Central California that woman lives in, why are they not humiliated that woman had to do what she had to do? And why aren't they not banding together to make it very, very clear to that pilot and every other pilot that works for that company that is spraying the snot out of that community? Why are they not making it very clear that it stops now? And folks, that's on us. The fact that pilot did not feel any sense of remorse or any guilt or anything at all, his whole attitude was, I'm just doing my job. That's on us, because we've made it okay for those pilots to crawl into those planes and drown us in toxic chemicals, and we've done nothing. I even have a girlfriend whose daughter just graduated from flight school and couldn't find a job and was considering getting a job in one of those spraying planes. And I couldn't even believe it. People are not connecting that is killing the planet. It is killing the soil. They're now having to come up with aluminum resistant seeds because there's so much aluminum, barium, and strontium in our soil now. It is becoming a catastrophe. So here's the problem that I have. The first one is, and you guys are going to push back on this and you're going to get upset, but men, I'm talking to you. What I want to know is, what happened? What happened? These pilots are spraying your families. They're spraying your wives. They're spraying your children. They're spraying your parents. They're spraying your soil. They're spraying your animals. They're spraying your community. They are killing everything you love. And you are sitting there doing nothing. How hard would it be to hunt down these local pilots and these local aviation companies that are using these local flight paths to do this toxic spraying? It's not that hard. This woman did it in California. She walked right in. Why are not the men in these communities being real men? Why are they allowing this to happen, watching their families being sprayed day after day after day and doing nothing? In my mind, we need to make sure that being a chemtrail pilot, and I don't care if you're male or female, if you're doing it for the money, if you just want the flight hours, I don't care. I want to make sure that we as a nation make being a chemtrail pilot about as popular as being a pedo in prison. And you know how that happens? It happens when we say no more. It happens when we take responsibility for our communities. Those pilots live among us. Those aviation companies live in our communities. They work in our communities. They are supported by our tax dollars. It is up to us to make sure that we do what is ever necessary to make sure that they know that if they get in the seat of that plane and try dousing us with chemicals anymore, that it's not going to go well for them. Now, I'm not talking about 12 high testosterone real men taking these pilots down a dark alley and beating the snot out of them. Only I wouldn't shed a tear if they did. But what I'm saying is that there are endless creative guerrilla ways to make sure that these pilots no longer deem it worth it to poison their neighbors. We take their pictures, we put them on posters, we post them on every local business. We pick it in front of their house. We all of a sudden have a car that goes, breaks down in front of their driveway and they no longer can get to work. We show up at their place of business. We hound them to death and let them know that them earning money off of poisoning our families is no longer okay. It is our responsibility. This is our country. This is our planet. No one's coming to save us. This is our community. This is what consciousness is all about. This is deciding the kind of world that you want to live in. Now, I see people all the time, all day long, posting on X about the chemtrailing. And without fail, you know who they tag? They tag Trump and they tag Musk and they tag DeSantis because Florida, where I live, is getting drowned in the chemicals. Guess what, folks? You know what? Daddy Trump and Daddy Musk and Daddy DeSantis are kind of busy right now. They have a few things on their plate. So maybe, just maybe, men, you real men, need to take a little bit of responsibility for this. When are we going to take our communities back? When are we going to let those chemtrail pilots know that it's over? That they're no longer allowed to poison our children to make a buck? We're done. These airstrips are local. Now, I do understand that a lot of the spraying is done by military planes. And there's a whole backstory on that, and Penny and I are going to discuss it at some point. I understand that a lot of it is military planes, but a lot of it is local. And my guess is right now, there is someone watching this who knows somebody that's a chemtrail pilot or knows who runs the gasoline truck on the chemtrail pilot tarmac, or knows an air traffic controller that manages those chemtrail planes. We know these people. How hard is it going to be for us to hunt them down and make sure that they hear from us that this is no longer a way to make a living? I want to see us take charge and do what is ever necessary in our communities to make sure that poison is not falling out of the sky. And that takes maturity. This endless adolescence that we seem to be rolling around in the US has got to stop. Daddy Trump can't solve all our problems. Daddy Musk can't solve all our problems. Daddy DeSantis can't solve all our problems here in Florida. At some point, we have to take responsibility. We have to step up and do something. And now's the time. They're going to flip and kill us with this stuff. So if we want to keep whining and expecting someone to solve the problem for us, good luck with that. What I suggest is that we do everything possible to make it so uncomfortable for those pilots to get in the seat of those planes that those companies end up going out of business because they can't get anybody to fly the poison anymore. And I want to say something to the men. We need real men right now. If you're sitting on the couch right now saying, well, I don't want to get in trouble, you're not the type of man we need. You just stay right there stroking your clicker, because that's about as much use you are to us. What we need is real men. Real men who are going to understand the value of their wives, their children, their parents, their neighbors, their friends, their families, the soil for growing healthy food. We need real men. And I don't know what the hell happened to them, but I'm not seeing that many on this planet anymore. So, time to look in the mirror, boys, because you're about to lose everything because you're letting this happen to your families. Okay, Cheryl Weaver, I've been saying that for years. Women now have more balls than men. Any excuses they have is just cowardice. Let me tell you, and I'll give you an example. When the whole COVID game broke out, I was one of those people who knew it was a scam from the very beginning. And I don't know why. I just knew it was a scam. And I can remember I walked into Home Depot at the very beginning of COVID. And I used to love to go to Home Depot. That's where the real men were. God, I love real men. You know, men that can fix stuff, men that are in charge, men that don't take crap, men with a backbone. I used to love to go into Home Depot. And I walked into Home Depot in the middle of the COVID ridiculousness that everybody fell for. And what do I see? I see a line of about 8 or 9 men standing in the return line of the Home Depot with their little masks on. That was the most disappointing, unattractive, disgusting sight I have seen, and I can't remember when. And what I wanted to scream to each one of those men is, when did your dicks fall off? Did it happen all at once? The fact that the men did not stand up during COVID and say, this is baloney, you're not masking my 2-year-old. And guess what? Now we're down the road and they're poisoning us from the skies. Men, where are you? We're at a juncture. We either grow up and take charge of this planet we live on, or the people that are hell-bent on killing us and your children and your wife and your parents, they're going to succeed. If you think that because you cast your vote in November, you're done for the 4 years, that's not how being a grown-up works on a successful planet with a successful civilization. A successful civilization is mature, and they take responsibility for their existence on the planet. They protect their families, they protect their communities, they protect their air, their water, their soil, their livestock. They don't just sit there. So my point about this, and what I suggest, is that we take charge of this and start making it impossible for those pilots to get in those planes and continue to poison us. Now, how do we do that? We use what we have. There are people who know people in your community who will know where these planes are taking off from, who will know the pilots that are flying these planes. We make it so uncomfortable for them to continue to do this that it doesn't happen anymore. The reason that pilot did not feel any sense of guilt is because we've let them feel that way. We have not demanded that they stop. And what I'm suggesting is that we demand they stop. Use the resources in your community, find out who's awake and aware as well as you, figure out who these pilots are. We make their lives miserable. And I'm not saying doing anything illegal. I'm saying we are a lawful society. What I'm saying is make their lives so uncomfortable for spraying poison over our children, our parents, our families, that they're not going to do it anymore. That's the only way this is going to stop. We could have done it during COVID, but we didn't. So now we're on to the next step of the depopulation agenda. They're not going to stop until we say no more. And I say it's time that we say no more. Nikki says, Kimberly ain't playing, and I respect that. I'm not playing. This is life or death, folks. And if you don't want to stick up for the people that you love, then at least look in the mirror and acknowledge that to yourself. We make these chemtrail pilots absolute pariahs. We stand out in front of their house and picket. We post their pictures up all over town. We show up at their offices. We threaten to fire the companies that are flying these planes. We take charge. And you know what happens? When the universe sees that intention, things start unfolding and opening up. And before you know it, we are so far down the road in a world that we are willing to live in. Things get so much better. This whiny, wimpy, I can't do anything is over. You either want to die at the hands of these people, or you're going to stand up and take back your planet. And I suggest that we take back our planet. And men, we need you to do it. Dig deep, Grow a pair, stand up and take charge. They're killing your families. So that's what I have for you tonight. Are they spraying us? Yes, they're spraying us. Is it part of the depopulation agenda? Yes, it is. Is the soil being damaged? Yes, it is. Are we being made sick? Yes, we are. Now, what are we going to do about it? I suggest we stop it right now. Do what you want. I'm taking action. Okay, Mary Clark, lots of respiratory illness here in Ireland too. It's all around the world. This is not a coinkydink. This is not vapor trails. Folks, they're poisoning us. Wake up. So, thank you for listening. And what I'm going to ask you to do now, I don't ask ever on this channel, and that is share this with everyone you know. Share it on every social media platform you know. And men, I suggest you damn well look in the mirror and decide, you're going to grow up hair or you're just going to wimp away. If you're going to wimp away, fine. We don't need you. We need the real men. And you know what? I know they're out there. And I support you, real men. I support you. I appreciate you. I honor you. I respect you. We need you now. There is never a reason ever again for a mama to have to be the one to go into a pilot's office and confront him about chemtrailing her family. That ends now. Women need to be mothers and wives and nurturers. We need the men to stand up. We will be behind you. You will get respect that you cannot imagine. You will be adored and loved. We need you now. Don't disappoint us. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. Please, please, please share this with everyone you know and encourage them to share it too. All right, I'll be back with Penny later in the month. Hopefully, we're going to touch on the chemtrail. She and I have discussed it. They're not playing around, folks. This is not meant to keep us healthy. They're not playing. And we have to get serious back. All right, take care. Bye now.